So welcome back to The Expert Edge. Today's conversation is all about building an automated client machine. As a coach, as an expert, I think that for many of you, you're probably quite exhausted, overwhelmed, and experiencing lumpy income, like it feels like a bit of a roller coaster. And today's conversation is about how do you build a automated machine or move at least towards automation so that you can finally create the freedom you want in your expert business. Before we get into that, there is one piece of building the automated conversion machine, the automated client machine, that I'm going to be teaching very in-depth about, and that is building a high converting presentation. That's actually one of the pillars of building out some sort of automated client machine. And the good news is that I'm going to be hosting a live workshop series called Selling from Virtual and Live Stages. This training is a step-by-step workshop for coaches and course creators to speak in a way that both connects with their audience and draws them towards your offers. And it's going to be done in a way that doesn't feel pushy or salesy. And so this training series, like I said, is a live training series. I only do this once, occasionally twice a year, but usually once. And it's going to be happening really soon. In fact, Monday, February 3rd, at 1 p.m. Pacific is when it kicks off. So that's going to be 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. If you're in London, it's 9 p.m. If you're in Sydney, it's 8 a.m. And obviously it's going to be on the day ahead on the 4th. But it kicks off for all of my US and Europe clients and friends and listeners, the 3rd of February, February 3rd, 1 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be doing 4 sessions and they're going to be in-depth. We're going to be covering the mindset that you need to be able to speak confidently and sell from a virtual or a live stage. We're going to be talking about conversion strategies, about how do you create presentations that convert at a high level. I'm going to be taking you through the whole business model about what it looks like to build out and structure out your $1 million coaching business using virtual and live stages. And then we're also going to do an implementation session where you can ask Q&A and all that sort of good stuff. It's completely free. And like I said, it's only available for a limited time. So head over to colinboyd.co/stages. The link will be in the show notes, but if you just put colinboyd.co/stages, you'll be able to get access to that for free. Now, you are a podcast listener, and so I'm assuming you've listened to a few episodes of mine and trusting that if you're still listening, you're getting value. And I want you to know that we're going to go deep in this workshop series. There's going to be fresh content, new ideas of what's working right now. And so definitely head over. And there will be, like I said, it is free. There is an opportunity to do a VIP experience because we're going to have thousands of people joining this workshop series. And I've got a limited number. In fact, it's only 100 VIP seats. And that's where I'm going to be able to answer your questions. We'll do Q&A. We'll do some more implementation. We're going to be focusing on storytelling, offer building, all sorts of cool stuff within the VIP experience as well. So the training series is free. There is a VIP experience that you can do. It's under $100. It's not a huge investment, but you'll be able to experience a more deeper, intimate experience with me as well. So that is definitely an option. So head over and register yourself. I'm excited to have this series starting. And if you end up showing up live on this series, you're also going to get, everyone who shows up live is going to get access to a special bonus that we'll be delivering live. If you can't make it live, that's totally fine. You'll still get the training. It's going to be up for a limited time, so there'll still be replays. So definitely go and register at colinboyd.co/stages, and we'll be talking about how do you build that high converting presentation that gets you clients every time you speak. So you ready for today's episode? Today, we're going to be going deeper into building an automated client machine. How do you build a business as an expert where it's more automated, systemized, and gets you clients every single day? Let's explore that right now. Hey, it's Colin, and you are listening to the Expert Edge podcast. I was a professional speaker for over a decade, and now I focus on helping coaches, speakers, and course creators to speak and sell on virtual and live stages. The Expert Edge podcast is weekly content focused on helping you build your expert business. We cover marketing, storytelling, sales, communication skills, and so much more. Thanks for taking the time to tune in, and make sure you subscribe and follow us on all our social channels so you don't miss a thing. Let's listen to today's episode. So let's talk about building an automated client machine. How do you build a client conversion mechanism where you get customers and clients every single day? Now, I do want to start off by saying that what I'm about to share with you today took me a long time to learn. And in fact, I feel like I am a slow learner when it comes to this area of the business. So I feel like I'm like the perfect person to teach it because I know what it's like to not do it. And I also know what it's like to do it right now. I know for us in our business, in fact, I woke up this morning and we had 8 new clients join already this morning, but before I even woke up. And so I want you to know that what I'm about to share with you today, I'm teaching from a place of true experience. I've gone through the journey of being very manual and unleveraged in my delivery and moving towards a more leveraged, automated experience. So here's the challenge, I think, as a coach, as a course creator. When you first start out, you have all these dreams of wanting to build a freedom-based business, make money, impact people's lives, etc. And as you get into it, it becomes really exhausting. Like many coaches and course creators I speak with, they're completely exhausted. They're overwhelmed. And the problem is even if they get something working, they stay in this feast or famine experience where you make a lot of money one month and very little money the month after. And so the opportunity we have today in this conversation is to talk about what are the systems that we need in place, the thinking we need in place to be able to automate things and get clients on demand, get clients without us doing as much work so that we have a business that is more enjoyable. It's less connected to us and our energy and our effort, and it's highly scalable. And so that's the conversation I want to have with you today. Now, the cool thing is I've seen so many of our students move through this process. In fact, I remember one of our students, her name is Verena. She just messaged me on Instagram, just sharing some of the updates she had with her business. When she first started working with me in Sell From Stage Academy, and then she came into our Sell From Stage Elite program as well, she was doing around 10, 15, sometimes 20,000 a month. So she was doing pretty well. But she was really stuck, and she was stuck in a manual way of selling her business, and it was kind of lumpy. Sometimes she would have a good month, sometimes she wouldn't have a good month. And through implementing the system I'm going to share with you today, and in fact, it's the exact system that I'm going super deep into the workshop series, in the Selling from Virtual and Live Stages workshop series, she went from $10,000 or $20,000 a month to $80,000, $100,000 months. I remember just recently, she came up to me, we're at a live event, and she pulled me aside and she said, "Colin, can I share something with you? I've never shared this with you, and I've been wanting to tell you." She just said, "I want you to know that your program, your process has completely changed my life. And not just changed my life, but my whole family's life. And it's meant that I've been able to make the money I've always wanted to make. We have the financial freedom we want. She just bought a new property. She's traveling more, spending more time with her family." And she's like, "Colin, I want you to know," and she's welling up in her eyes, and it's making me emotional, because that's the reason that I do this. That's the reason that I teach our programs. It's the reason I run this podcast, is to truly help people access their potential faster, more easily, with less pain. That is truly the goal. That's the intention of why I started this podcast and run our academy and our elite coaching programs. I think about another guy, his name's Marco. Marco's amazing. He came in and he was making about $9,000 a year, pretty much, in his expert business. He told me that he ran a few webinars. The most he'd ever made was $3,000. He came into our academy. He started using our whole Sell From Stage process, and he went from $3,000 webinars. His first one that he used, it was $47,000. And then he went to 51, 81, 78. It was a series of those multi-six-figure launches. And then about a year and a half later, he hit his first $100,000 webinar, which was $140,000. And he's completely built out his business. He's got a lot of automations going. He's making over $1 million a year. But he started making $3,000 a webinar, $9,000 to $10,000 a year he was making when he first met me. And that's within about a 2-year period. Pretty cool, right? That for me is the reason I do this. And because of the flow and effect of that, it impacts his family, it impacts his potential, and he's also helping a lot of clients clients that I could never reach myself because he's got his own audience. And so let's go through, I'm going to take you through 4 big mistakes that people make that stop them building an automated client machine. And I'm going to tell you how to do it instead, right? So the first big mistake that people make is they get stuck in a manual model. When I first started coaching in my business, I was a life coach and I was doing life coaching, career coaching, performance-based coaching. I was very manual. So I was selling one-to-one, and then from the one-to-one, I would sell one-to-one coaching. And then I would also try to sell one-to-one to a corporation. I would come in and I would do a workshop, right? I would host a workshop for the day. I would be paid a fee for the day, but it was very transactional. It was one-to-one coaching, one-to-one selling, yes, it was one-to-many workshops, but I wasn't selling in those workshops. So they were just delivery style workshops. Now, it was good. I was still earning multi-6-figure salary in terms of growing the business, but it was exhausting. And I remember I signed my biggest client at the time. They actually signed me on to do 4 workshop days from 9 till 5. So 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., 4 days a week, right? Monday to Thursday. It would usually go for about a month at a time. So I'd fly into their state. I would deliver for a month back to back. And then on Fridays, by the way, I had about 15 one-on-one clients. So I'm delivering from 6 a.m. till like 9 p.m. pretty much on a Friday or whatever day was open. I would be delivering one-on-one coaching sessions before I get up to actually speak and run a workshop for a day. And I was earning the most amount of money I'd ever earned at that point. And I was completely depressed. Like, I remember sitting in a hotel room and just being absolutely exhausted. I had nothing left. It was emotionally, I was in the worst place that I'd ever been. I do remember sitting literally against the wall in a hotel room and just being in despair. And what's crazy was I thought that was what I wanted to build. I thought I'd built something, but the problem was I'd made this first mistake, which was I'd stayed in a manual model. Now, when you get started, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like starting in a manual model where you're delivering some one-on-one, where you're delivering a little bit of, selling one-on-one and stuff like that. Maybe in the first, couple of months or so of your business, that's fine. Like, getting some experience. I know for me, I did one-on-one coaching for free for about 6 months. In fact, that was while I was studying my life coaching diploma, right? This was before I really opened my business. But I think it's fun. But the problem was I never got out of it. And the good news is that if you build your business the right way from the start, I've seen so many of my clients see a lot faster results than I ever saw in my business. Firstly, because they've actually got strategies that are proven it work. But secondly, they go into a leveraged model a lot quicker than I did. And so the really big mistake here is getting stuck in this manual model. So you need to make a shift from delivering one-to-one to one-to-many, from selling one-to-one to one-to-many, right? So you need to make this shift. So let me take you through what I call the 3 phases of scaling. And these are the 3 phases that I teach my students inside of our Sell From Stage Academy, Sell From Stage Elite, especially in the Elite Implementation Program. This is a big focus on the process, right? So the first phase is building and launching phase. So this is where you build usually a pilot program or a beta program. And a beta program is essentially the first time you're probably delivering that program, and you're going to get feedback. It's going to be a live delivery. It is manual, but it's one-to-many, right? You still want it to be in a group, but you're going to launch it to the world. You might launch it with a webinar. I know for me, I launched it with a training, like a challenge kind of thing inside of a Facebook group the first time. I ended up getting about 32 people into the beta experience of Sell From Stage Academy. And I delivered it for 8 weeks live on Zoom. There was no curriculum other than what I was just making up at the time. Now, I was making it up based on the experience that I'd had, the previous 12, 13 years at the time of delivering it. But essentially, there was no online course, right? It was just me in front of a Zoom camera, just delivering the content and giving people handouts and templates and worksheets. And I'm getting feedback, and I'm still, having lots of conversations with them. And it was great. It was great. But the problem is that's not sustainable. Right? I can't do that every single time. Imagine having no base curriculum and just delivering it over and over again. But here's the thing, that's what people get stuck in. They get stuck in the build and launch phase, and they don't get out of it into the next phase, which is the growth phase. Now, the growth phase is where you turn that manually delivered product, right? And even though it's one to many, one to a group, it's still manually delivered. You turn that manually delivered product into a productized program. So in other words, into an online course. So it's a pre-recorded course. You productize your experience. Then you can still offer some coaching with it, right? You can still offer some group coaching or a bonus one-on-one or whatever you want to do. But you're moving into the growth phase. So you're productizing your experience. You're also refining your high converting presentation. Now, the reason why presentation is so good is because it cuts out a lot of one-to-one selling. It positions you as an expert because you're the one speaking on a stage, and it gives you leverage in terms of the selling model. So you don't have to sell one-to-one, right? And so you're refining this presentation. You're also productizing your offer. And then in this phase, in the growth phase, this is where you're starting to, build a bit more of an email list. I recommend at this phase, you're starting to get affiliates. When I first started, I reached out to my students and I said, hey, who enjoyed this program? Would you like to affiliate for it? And I gave them, a cut of the affiliate. So you're essentially going through this process of you're growing. Now, at this level, I would say the build and launch phase is 90 to 120 days usually to do that well, right? After that, you've probably got about a 3 to 6 month period of the growth phase. And that is really where you're refining things and you're growing your audience, right? And so there's a little bit of ads here, but it's mostly organic. But I do believe you should spend it on ads a little bit at this phase, right? Because you're wanting to get some understanding of how this paid traffic and all of that stuff works. And so this growth phase is where essentially you're refining the presentation, you're growing things. The next phase is the scaling phase. The scaling phase is where you start driving traffic to a more on-demand training. So in the growth phase, you're probably still launching throughout the year. I know for me, I launched every month, every other month, pretty much for about 2.5 years. I think it was too long. I will say, I'll put up both hands, I'll say it's too long. But I will say I learned so much, and the refinement of the process was just incredible. I think it's the reason why we've done really well is partly because I just kept refining it. Now, I don't think you have to wait that long, right? I'm a bit of a slow learner. I know you're a faster learner than me. So I would encourage you to deliver. In fact, our students, a lot of the time, they'll deliver the presentation, refine it for 3 to 6 months, then they put it on demand, right? So deliver it 2 to 3 times, and then you can put it on demand. Then what's cool, then you've got a conversion mechanism that's automated and you can start driving traffic to it. And so you can start driving traffic to it from all the different platforms that you personally like using, whether it's a podcast or Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, whatever platform you like using. And then you can have paid ads driving to it. So then you start getting into the scaling phase. And the scaling phase is essentially where the refinement is less in the presentation because you've built that, it's working, and it's more in the messaging, it's more in the ads, it's more in the traction of how you're bringing clients in. And then if you do run a live launch, if you do some sort of more manual launch, it boosts all the sales on top of the automated level. Does that make sense? And so for me, the scaling phase, an automated presentation that you can drive people to literally purchase product, like right then and there, or they could book in a call, which is totally fine as well. If you can have both options. And then you're going to sell them into a program that is hopefully more leveraged as well, right? And so the 3 phases, building and launch phase 1, the growth phase 2, and then the scale phase 3. So I talked about the 3 phases of scaling. Let's go into number 2, which is the second big mistake, right? The second big mistake that I find people make is they stop organically promoting the mechanism. So what I mean by that is maybe they've headed into the growth phase and they've even put it onto some sort of automated webinar or an automated on-demand training, and they don't actually push the mechanism enough. So what I mean by that is they're wondering why they're not getting enough sales, But when it comes down to it, it's really a traffic problem once you've got that conversion, that high converting webinar, the high converting presentation in order, right? And so you need to be thinking about what are the traffic places that I really enjoy that I can create consistently that will drive traffic into this automated conversion machine. So for example, and I wouldn't spread yourself too thin. I would go lean into one particular channel first. So for us, Instagram was the main channel we like to lead into. So we would go Instagram, we would do ManyChat, if you know ManyChat, and it leads straight into some sort of on-demand training, something like that. Now, we've also introduced YouTube, and YouTube's a nice combination with a podcast. A podcast is also another great platform. I would just choose one that you enjoy. I'm up to episode like 252. I think this particular episode is 252 episodes, people. We're in the top 1% of the entire world of rankings on podcasts. And that's because I've been showing up consistently, even though, I want you to get this, guys, even though we have, like, I literally could probably just stop working and we would still make easily enough sales and profit in the business for it to just running. But for me, like, this is my mission. And I'm assuming it's similar to you. You know, I love doing this. And so doing the manual work, doing the reach outs, doing the posts, doing the stories, doing the podcasts, doing the videos for YouTube. Look at the biggest influencers in the world. You know, different people who make just massive money in this expert industry. Wouldn't you agree they all still have a organic focus on their business? In fact, Gary Vee has just been talking so much about organic marketing lately. The reason why I bring him up is he's really one of the thought leaders when it comes to like what's new in social media. And he's been talking so much about the power of organic and how the algorithm's been changing and the fact that you don't necessarily need a massive following to get large viewership in terms of what the content that you're doing. So the reason I bring this up is because I think that the second mistake is that people build their automated training, their automated conversion machine, but then they don't focus on the right type of traffic, right? And so the second thing is you need to keep pushing organic traffic to promote your mechanism. Number 3, the third big mistake people make is they don't invest in paid traffic. For me, paid traffic has completely changed the game when it comes to scalability in my expert business. In fact, we spend anywhere between $500 to $1,500 per day, every day. And so what that means is we're getting clients all day, every day. In fact, like I said, I woke up this morning, I had about 8 new clients into the business already when I woke up. How many clients did you have in your business when you woke up? Like new clients, not just reoccurring payments. New clients into your business this morning when you woke up. If it's any less than, I think, 2 or 3, then to me, there's a huge opportunity for growth in this automated space. Now, when I first started, I would say the growth phase is the phase where you're going to start to bring in some ads. In our Sell From Stage Elite, which is our group coaching level in our Sell From Stage programs, we have got a Facebook ads coach, right? So he's someone who reviews people's content, reviews their ad strategies, their ads. I even give coaching on my coaching calls, giving advice to people's ads. The reason why I say this is because I think you need to learn how to create great ads. I don't think you necessarily need to be an expert in the ads platform. So for us, I've actually brought on a full-time ads manager. We've brought them in-house, but I didn't start there. I started initially in outsourcing the ads management to an ads agency. And so I recommend you finding someone who's good at what they do at a price level that you can lean into. You only do this once you've built your high converting presentation. I think it's better to launch it organically first, get some conversions, and then you sow some of that money back into the investment of ads, and then you start scaling it out. In fact, I was just having a conversation like 3 days ago with one of our elite students. Her name's Lauren, and she's launching a completely new offer, which is really cool. And her first launch, she did well. She signed a few clients, but it was all organic. Her second launch, now she's moving into some paid ads, and she's already seeing a 4x return on her paid ads. So for me, it's a really good indicator that she's got her conversion mechanism working, right? She's been in our program for a little while now, but she's completely changing her niche. And so obviously she's got to rebuild that. but part of it is actually getting some great ads traffic going through to that. And so the big mistake is not investing in paid traffic. I think paid traffic will scale you up faster than anything else. However, don't do it before you've got a conversion mechanism in place. Does that make sense? Because if you do it before it, you're just going to be burning money. And that's what people worry about. They're like, I'm just going to burn through money. Well, you kind of will if you don't have a conversion mechanism in place. So that's the high converting webinar. But we're talking about automated client systems, right? An automated conversion system. And so to get it to fully automated level, paid traffic is definitely the way to go. The fourth big mistake that stops people creating automated client machines is not focusing on systems and people. So they're not hiring team, not hiring systems. I want to share with you the 5 hires that you should do in your business and the order you should do them in, right? So the first hire you want to make is you want customer service. You want to get out of the inbox of your customers. The reason why that is first of all, you're going to have some good customers and you're going to have some challenging customers, right? And what that means is those challenging customers are going to trigger you emotionally because you're so close to the content, you care so much about them. The problem with that is when you don't have that detachment, which is normal to not have the detachment, it's going to waste your emotional energy and you need to protect your energy. So the first hire you need to put in place, that could be part-time, could be full-time. You can outsource to overseas where it's cheaper, a place like the Philippines. There's great customer service people there. You want to hire customer support, right? Customer service in your inbox. The second hire is administration and tech help. So that is connecting Zapier to this thing or building out some of the funnels or building out the sales page on a technical level, connecting some of the offers to the products, like any sort of like technical element to it. That is the second hire you want to make. And that's pretty cheap as well. We're not at high level investment yet, right? Customer support administration is a pretty low level investment initially. The third hire, and this is the first bigger investment, marketing. So marketing is going to be where you're going to be hiring, I would say like a Facebook ads manager. You're going to be hiring maybe someone who's going to be helping with social media, right? A social media manager or a social media agency or something like that, because you want to be scaling out the marketing and getting it really consistent. I would put a copywriter in this bucket here as well. So maybe someone who's writing or helping you to write some of the weekly emails and things like that. This is the third hire. Right? Someone in this marketing space. The fourth hire is sales, because up to this point, you're probably going to be doing all the sales, whether it's sales over a webinar, which obviously you will keep doing, or even some one-on-one selling to your higher ticket stuff. But at this point, you can probably start outsourcing sales after the marketing because you're going to be getting a flow of leads coming through and you're outsourcing the sales. And then the fifth hire is client delivery. So this is where you're bringing on a coach, especially I'm talking like client delivery from a full-time perspective. I know for us, we've brought on some coaches throughout the year. We've got contract coaches. We've also got a full-time coach who works with our clients on a daily basis if they want to book in a one-on-one call, all that sort of stuff. So does that make sense? They're the 5 hires: customer service, administration and tech help, marketing, sales, and then client delivery. That for me is kind of the ascension model for hiring people in your team. And when you do that, that will allow you to scale up in terms of your business. So let's do a quick review of what we've talked about building a client machine. And it's really built around the mistakes that people make. Number one, you get stuck in a manual delivery model. So in other words, you started out and it was great, you were making money, but you stopped thinking about leverage, or you didn't make the leap into a leveraged model, right? You're still selling one-to-one, you're still delivering one-to-one, and you haven't made the leap into a group program or some sort of group conversion mechanism. Now, I recommend making that leap into the group conversion mechanism first, because then you can actually sell at scale right away. We talked about those 3 phases of scaling within that topic of build and launch phase, growth phase, and the scale phase. And then we talked about the second big mistake, which was people stop organically promoting the mechanism. And when I say the mechanism, that is the conversion mechanism. So the automated webinar, the on-demand webinar. So once you've ran your training, your webinar, your workshop a few times, maybe 3 or 4 times live, put it on demand, right? You need an on-demand funnel to be building that out. Now, by the way, what's cool is in Sell From Stage Academy, there's a whole training on like what that funnel looks like. like all the templates, what the registration page looks like, what the thank you page looks like, all that sort of stuff. For me, I'm thinking about how do you like build out that funnel and make it actually work? The third mistake is not investing in paid traffic, right? And so as much as I talk about organic, paid traffic is the nitros. Like that's the butane that you put on the fuel on top of the organic, and that will really drive sales. And then finally is not focusing on systems and people. And I went through the 5 first hires I would recommend you to make in your expert business. So I trust today has been valuable. I hope it has. Like I mentioned, one of the pillars of building a client conversion machine is having a high converting webinar, right? Having a high converting presentation that you can deliver, whether it be virtual, right? Or in person, if you want to run some in-person workshops and things like that. A high converting presentation is a secret to scaling up your client acquisition faster. And so I'm going to be doing a free training. It's called the Selling from Virtual and Live Stages workshop series. It's a 4-part implementation series. It's going to be super helpful. It really is. The tagline for it is the step-by-step workshop for coaches and course creators to speak in a way that connects with their audience and naturally moves them towards their offers without feeling pushy and salesy, right? That's the goal. And it's going to be starting on February 3rd at 1 p.m. Pacific. That's 4 p.m. Eastern, London, 9 p.m. and Sydney, it's going to be 8 a.m., which will be on your Tuesday. So February 3rd, 1 p.m. Pacific, we're going to be going through 4 trainings, and it's going to be talking about mindset, feeling confident in your mindset, strategies for conversion, the Speak and Sell $1 Million model, what that looks like, and then an implementation and Q&A session as well. So head over to colinboyd.co/stages. Come and join us inside. I know you're going to love it. Experience it. It's completely free. So don't put it off. Go and register right now. If you're on your phone, go down to the show note links, click on the link, go and get yourself registered. If you are interested in a little bit more an intimate experience with me, come and join me in the VIP experience. We've only got 100 spots in there. That's where I'll be able to answer your questions on a more in-depth level. We go through a lot more stuff around storytelling, offers, and a whole bunch of extra cool content in there as well. So whatever you choose, I'm excited to have you in this workshop series. I know you won't regret it. And I look forward to helping you build this high converting presentation. Go and check it out now. We'll see you soon on the Expert Edge.